Shu's presentation, and since Shu, he tried to come to give us a speak, and he fall in sleep, so he cut his finger first, and so last week she cannot join us, and this week she come to join us. Shu, welcome. You didn't open your... Oh, okay.
Okay, good evening, Professor and all my lab mates. Today my topic is talk about the role of the vitamin on the early gestation stage. So I will follow the outline and give a conclusion for this review presentation. So first of all, the introduction will say that the early gestation is critical period of the embryo development because nutritional management and the metabolic changes can affect embryo survival and the litter size.
I'm sorry, Sue. I think you haven't enlarged the slide.
Oh, okay. Maybe this one, right?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. Maybe I restart. Okay. Today, my presentation is talk about the role of vitamin on the early gestation stage, and this is my outline. For the early gestation is critical period for embryo development because nutritional management and the metabolic changes can affect embryo survival and litter size. The aim of the present research was to systematically review the effect on the size and the yield of feeding allowance post-mating on embryo survival, evaluating, when possible, the relationship between the feeding of the amount of the energy relative to those needed for the body maintenance and the progesterone concentrations on embryonic growth. We can see this review, this table combines so many studies. Then they also evaluate the different feed intake, the low feed intake and the high feed intake in the early gestation stage. They will have some different effect on the energy requirement or the body weight or the dietary energy content or the P4 evaluation. Then they also will influence on some hormones. And the H item is for the embryo survival rate. That's what I want to focus on, because we can see that for the embryo survival rate before 2010, most of the study shows the embryo survival rate will be decreased when the cell get the high feed intake in the early gestation stage. But we can see that after maybe 2011 or the 2012, we can see that here the study result have the adverse within the papers before 2010. So we will consider that it is the energy or the protein required is the most important for the embryo survival rate, or we have the other choice. Like we know that when we increase our feed intake, so we will also increase our vitamin or mineral content intake. So for the reference that show that the vitamins, they have the antioxidant, and they not only can have a role in the attainment and the maintenance of the pregnancy, they also have the benefit in the fetal development. As we can see that the first one is talk about the vitamin A. the vitamin A, we can see that the requirements during different days of the gestation, lactation, and weaning stage. We can know that for the gestation, 30 days is we call the early gestation stage. They need more vitamin E than the middle stage on the gestation cell. So here the author said that the vitamin A is an essential nutrient because of its important roles in the vision, cellular differentiation, embryonic development, reproduction, growth, and the immune system. And in the 1933, this author already demonstrated that the cell will entirely deplete of vitamin A during the first month of the pregnancy. If the vitamin A is deficiency, when we provide the cod liver oil, and but for the cell, but the gift of the piglet give birth, they will have within various malformations. Then most conspicuous of which were phalamia and microphalamia. It's a syndrome without of the eyes, or they have the eyes very small. And the other author also investigation that on the vitamin A deficiency in the pregnant cells, they found that the resorption and the mummification of the fetus, and also have these two syndromes as we talked before in the cleft palate. So we know that when the gestation cell deficiency of the vitamin A on the early gestation stage, they will have some syndrome, especially for the mummification and the other syndrome within the eyes. For the figures, we can see that the 7.1. The 7 treatment is the treatment provide the vitamin A. So in the situation without the vitamin A, we can see the piglet, they cannot development very well. Then also have some problem within their nerve section. We can see that usually for the break one is at the right demyelination. And we can see also have some trouble of the lungs. Then the villus in the intestine, we can see that they are not like columnar. They are just like stratified. They are just layer and layer. So that means they cannot absorption the nutrients very well. And the other one very significant is they will have big trouble on the spinal cord. We can see that the red one, we can see the spinal cord, they cannot, it's the abnormal one. Within they already provide the vitamin B12. They also cannot recover as the normal one. Then here is also talk about the fetus, but the fetus I remember is just for mice. For the mice fetus, we can see that from figure B to the figure F is the treatment with deficiency with the vitamin A. So we can see the fetus is a little bit swollen, or they are deformation of the structure. Even we provide extra B12 on the group G and the H. They still cannot go back like the figure A show us normal. So here has some reference also show that here have the correlation between the size of the embryo and the retinol content in uterine fluorescence is high. And the retinol in the uterine secretions may function by the protecting the conceptors against the oxidizing activities of the interferon. Consequently, the RBP, the retinol binding protein, may have several functions with the reproductive tract of the pigs. The first one is transfer the retinol to the fetals. Then they can protection of the tissue against the antidative reaction. And the final one is the provision of the substrate to generate retinolic acid and the other biologic active metabolites of the retinol. Then the other topic, the other section, I want to talk about the vitamin B. And first one is for the vitamin B12. As we can see that when we provide the different level, different concentration of the vitamin B12, we can see that when we provide more vitamin B12, of course, the concentrate in the plasma will be higher in the high dose within the vitamin B12. Then we can see that the vitamin B12 will be influenced on the different parity or not. Here, the left treatment is for the nulliparous, and the other one is multiparous. We can see that if we provide the vitamin B12, oh sorry, here's the vitamin B9 is a folic acid. They can decrease the embryo mortality rate in the whatever is in the nulliparous or the multiparous, and they don't have the other difference. They don't have the other big difference, but we can see that they also have some benefit to improve the piglet bone size. Then for the B12, once the animal reach the maturity, the B12 supply become available for the reproductive function. Furthermore, the B12 requires for the reproductive function appear to be particularly large in early pregnancy, considering the massive transfer of vitamin B12 to the uterus at that time. And this kind of metabolic are involved in the regulation of the cell differentiation and maturation and modulation of the endometrial immune environment to favor embryo development and suppress the maternal rejection of conceptors. So the B12 so that's the reason that the B12, they can decrease the embryo mortality rate. Then we'll go to the vitamin B9. The folic acid may have an important role in maintaining the reproductive state of the dam and in early fetal development. The mechanism of the action, the identification of the active transport mechanisms in the placenta and the conceptus, and the minimum dietary level to achieve this result are not known. But for the evidence that we know that from the studies, we can know that the embryo survival rate seems to be improved within the folate, and the most critical period being in the initial 60 days of the pregnancy. And the 60 days also occupy a part of the middle gestation stage of the cell. In the pigs, during the conceptus elongation is the day 11 to the 13 of the gestation. There is rapid rise in the secretion of the estrogen by the embryos. But we know that the E2 E2 level should be lower in the uterine, that they can help the P4 to increase, because that two are different change when the cell is in the gestation situation. So we know that in the B9 supplement cells, the uterine level of the E2 on the day 15 of the pregnancy has been found to be lower than the non-supplemented animals. So that means when we provide B9, they also can they will decrease the E2 level than the control group 1. Then the other parameter is called homocysteine. Because of the evaluated of the homocysteine levels result in abnormal embryo development and increase the prenatal mortality in the several species, and have been observed in cells experiencing early pregnancy failure. As we can see here, when the whatever is in the nulliparous or the multiparous, when the treatment supplement of the B9, they will decrease the level of the embryo homocysteine. And the other studies also show the same trend here. Even in the different breed of the cell, whatever is ML, LD, or the YL, all of them, when they provide with the vitamin B9, they can decrease the homocysteine level in the uterus. That means they can decrease the risky to get the piglet within deformation. Then we can see that when we provide the other interesting things, when we provide the folate, and we can see that the serum, when we provide the folate, the serum folate will become very low than the control group. And the reason, that's because when the serum folate will increase the binding capacity, especially after mating. That shows that when the cell get mating and they require more vitamin B than before, so their folate binding capacity will also be increased. And the beneficial effect of the folic acid supplementation on the survival rate of the fetus, number of the dead fetus, and the litter size was pronounced, indicated that the efficacy of the folic acid to reduce embryo mortality is especially marked when the ovulation rate is high. So for this study is talk about the riboflavin. The riboflavin one, we can see that they provide on day 4 to day 10. They only provide for 7 days. This the 1 week. They already, the group with the vitamin B12, they already can improve the total embryos and the live embryos. And of course, they can improve the embryo survival rate. And the other thing is that they also can they also can increase the volume of the electronic fluid. That means when the electronic fluid volume is increased, that also means indicated that the placenta development is also will be increased directly. So we can see here. So how about for the pregnancy rate? The vitamin B12 treatment, we can see that they also can improve the pregnancy rate of the cell. Then they also have more live litter size is the second one. That's also because they have more total litter size. That's also consequence from the embryo survival rate. When the embryo survival rate is higher, so the litter size will getting higher. Then they also can improve the live litter. And the other things is very interesting that they not only can improve the litter size, they also can improve the litter weight. So maybe just because they have more piglet, so their total litter weight will be more higher. Then this picture is showed for chicken. The chicken is deficiency of the vitamin B12. So we can know that when the animal deficiency of the B12 while the gestation stage, they
B9.
will also have the deformation of the animals.
B9. Go back.
B9. So sorry, it's folic acid. It's B9. Then the other one is the biotin. The biotin supplementation on the cell productivity, because this kind of research is really actually is really old, so I cannot download all of them. So I just can find this kind of the review table that say when we provide more biotin, they have some improvement of the piglet weaning, and they have the chain to prolificacy, and the WEI will be showed, and they can have less food rations, and they also have the benefit on the bone alive of the piglet, but also have the studies also show no effect on it. But I find some paper is on the mice, because mice also is a kind of the animal that we usually for the experience. We can see that when we provide different level of the biotin, the control one is the standard one. Deficiency is with the 0 biotin, and the supplemented biotin is the level times 40. Is the 40 times level of the biotin, so it means overdose. So we can see that for the ovary morphology, we can see that if the animal deficiency of the biotin, their structure will be very thin and will be destroyed in the ovary morphology. But if we provide too much biotin, they also cannot form as well as the control group. We can see here the number of the ovary follicles and the corpse routine. We can see that the treatment 2 is deficiency with the biotin, and they have the less ovary follicles and the corpse routine. And they also have the less E2 receptor and the P4 receptor. That means for this kind of animal, they cannot easy to develop their ovarian or the uterine function, and they can get the good result for the pregnancy rate. But the other thing is that for the E2 and the P4 concentration, we can see that for the control one have the lowest E2 concentration, but we can see that when we overdose for the biotin, they also have some, they will increase more of the E2 concentration, then they will have more E2 concentration. So that we know that if we provide too much to overdose of the biotin, they also have the bad effect on the reproductive performance. Then the other one is also said that when the biotin deficiency, they will decrease the fetal weight, because the fetal cannot development very well. So the fetal weight of the animal will be decreased than the other treatment within the biotin supplemented. And next one is talk about the vitamin E. It's a vitro culture experiment for the bovine embryos. We can see that when we provide the vitamin E, we can see that the surface area of the recovered will become more large. That means the embryo they can development as well as the control group. Then for the cells, we can see that the cell provide vitamin E through the priority 1 to the priority 2, because for this experiment is doing for whole years. So it's just across in 1 year. So they have the result for the 2 parieties. We can know that when we provide vitamin E, they can decrease the weaning to estrol interval. That means the days to return to estrol will be shorter. Then also they have the more cells. They can have more cells to increase the following rate, and they have the total piglet bone. So for this result, we can also know that when we provide supplemented with the vitamin E, also can improve the embryo survival rate. So the litter size will also be improved in the future. Then how about and here for the piglet, they also can increase the parameter because they also provide the vitamin E in the lactation stage. So we can see that if we also provide the vitamin E in the lactation stage, will increase the immune system of the piglet. So the piglet diarrhea score will also be decreased when the cell provide for the vitamin E treatment. So the previous studies under experimental conditions have shown that such a combination improves the antioxidant or the oxidative status of the cell and favors the transfer of vitamin E to the piglet and their postnatal growth patterns. Then this one is also react the oxidative stress. So we can see that the oxidative stress in detectors really have the significantly relationship with the piglet weight and the cell litter size. From this table, we can see very clearly. So how about the other herb? Because for this new study said that they found a kind of herb is rich in the vitamin E. So we can see that when the study provide a herb to the cells, we can see that they also can increase the alpha tocopherol concentration in the cells of the piglet, because they also do it for the whole gestation and the lactation stage. So we can see that when the herb rich in the vitamin E, so we can see that the live-born piglet within the treatment, they also can increase the litter size of the piglet. And they also have the result for the litter weight that they also can increase the weight of the piglet. Because of the then they also found that the different rank in the group cell, or they have the younger and older cells, and those within the lower reproductive features has been found that related to the high oxidative stress during the late gestation and the lactation than in the sow in the middle social rank. So we can see that they also we can see that when the sow provide for the vitamin E rich the herbal within the rich vitamin E, they also can increase the weight of the piglets. They almost over 1 kilo. Then also the body weight, they have more. The winning weight also higher than the control group. And so in the woman or the female animal, the significant relationship between the high oxidative stress and the alteration in the follicular and the embryonic development may have been described. In this sense, significant anti-apoptotic and embryotrophic effects have been found after addition of the vitamin C or E cultural media during the processing in the vitro embryo production. So the conclusion of this review, the vitamin sufficient plays an important role in the early gestation stage while stabilizing the condition of the uterine, especially the vitamin B group. And the vitamin A and the E are major in the antioxidant reaction, which can improve the fetal development smoothly, and they also can reduce the oxidative stress. Also, providing the extra vitamin for the young and the older sow can get more benefit compared within the sow between the 2 to 5 parity, because the young sow they need more nutrition and they're usually under the stress condition than the sow already multi-parous. But if the sows goes to many parities, they are getting old, so they also need more they also need more vitamins to help them to recover soon. And the final conclusion is the optimizing the level of the vitamin can improve the embryo survival rate. So this is my presentation today. Thank you for listening.
Good. Any question, comments, or suggestion? From my screen, the first person is called Miss. Sorry, me.
Yeah, thank you, Professor, and thank you, Shu for your presentation. It's having kind of a little bit hard information for me. So I have wondering on page 46. Yeah, you mentioned about the herbal. I would like to know what kind of herbal they're using in this experiment.
I also try to find out what kind of the herbal is, but it's a commercial product, so maybe they think it's still a secret like that. So I don't know, but I know it's rich in the vitamin E and the vitamin C.
Maybe they come from many type of herbal, right? And you have mentioned that extra vitamin on your conclusion. So the extra vitamin, that means multi-type of vitamin or overdose of vitamin to use it?
Of course, for the optimal dose, we cannot provide overdose. If we provide overdose, we will have some bad effect that we can see for the biotin. We can see that they have their structure already not normal. Their structure also be destroyed. They will cause the imbalance of the vitamin.
You mean in your conclusion, extra vitamin maybe have like supplement more vitamin in diet, just like that.
Yes, but maybe not only vitamin E.
Yeah.
Yes.
Many type that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That's all.
Thank you, Professor and also Shu.
You didn't open microphone.
Oh, okay. Yes, now I already.
I cannot hear. Sorry.
What happened? Let me check again. How about now, Professor? Can
Yes.
you hear me?
Yes, it's okay now.
Susu mentioned vitamin E, B7, B12, B9, and the vitamin C, and also mentioned about the optimum the doses. So the question is whether all this vitamin will have the linear effect to increasing the performance if we combine together, or in the certain stage they will have some what we call contradict effect if we combine this together. Thank you.
Because we still don't know what kind of we still really know which vitamin can have really benefit or the adverse effect on the reproductive performance. So for my experiment, I just increase the level of the vitamin and the mineral concentration. Is the whole vitamin, not only one. But we will do the other experiments like vitamin E. Will maybe just do on the new experiment, so we can know that if we only increase one of the vitamin, it can really be increase or improve the reproductive performance or not. But usually it's
sorry, from my point of view, maybe the first experiment better to increase all according the experiment result. Okay, we make our own premix. So I want as a whole picture first, and then we go to individual. Okay, so that is much better. So in the future, you will find that our group, the people will be cooperate with each other. Even in the final publication, and then everyone can become expertise in this area. Okay, so I hope we can doing like this way. So we better to start that first. It's not only that experiment. The Siemens experiment will also increase all first. Okay, unfortunately, we do not have success the rest part of the experiment on the board. Okay, so that is my suggestion. Sorry to interrupt you. Okay. Any question as well?
No, at the moment, just that question, Professor.
Okay. Your background with your hair style is very beautiful. Okay, Neil.
Thank you, Professor, and thank you, Susu, for your presentation. My question is in slide 46. Yes, in here we can see in the if we supplementation the herbal antioxidant, right? Why in the sound doesn't have about the ascorbic acid, but it have in the piglet is very high than the sow, like that. Thank you.
Actually, I don't know. But for the vitamin C, I think that maybe because we can see that the control group, they also they almost very close to the zero, but the treatment with the herbal, they have some increase, but they cannot show. So this kind of things, they also show that this kind of herbal, even they reach in the vitamin C, but maybe they cannot detect in the South serum, but they can detect in the piglet. So I don't know whether the vitamin C is more easy to transfer from to the piglet. I don't know, but I can find out the question.
Can I suggest like this way? Because vitamin C is water soluble vitamin, so it's very easy to catabolism in the whole body, and the vitamin E cannot easily to catabolism, so they will stay there. But for the piglet, it's newborn piglet. Remember, this is a newborn piglet. They maybe store this kind of thing in their body. It's not catabolism. So I guess maybe like this way. But anyway, vitamin C is very easily to catabolism. I don't know. I just guess. Any question from?
Yes,
you?
Professor. And how about slide 47 and 48? You mentioned about the parity. Yeah. And in here, we can see parity 6 and 7, all of the live-born piglet and also the total return weight. These two factors will affect on by the parity or not, because it's quite high than other parity.
Yes, for the first parity of the gilt or the old sow, they usually need more vitamin to against the oxidative stress. So they need more vitamin to help them to get to provide them more nutrients. So they will, if we provide to them, so they will get more high performance than the sow between the 3 to 5 parity, because this stage for the sow is most stable, and before and after is too young or too old, so they need more nutrients to help them to recover or to maintain themselves.
I just try to make a joke. Sorry about that. Neil, how many years you want to stay here?
Cannot read, I think.
What I mean is, do you want to do this experiment for 7 parity? I'm really interested in you can stay here to make experiment for 7 parity.
Or maybe too long. Can I go back to experiment at NJU?
Okay. Any other question, comments, or suggestion? Good answer.
Now I didn't have, Professor. Thank you.
Okay. Yorita? Sorry.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Thank you, Shu, for your presentation. Would you please come back to page 19? Oh, yes, this one. I'm sorry, I don't understand in here with the addition of 400 ppb of the vitamin B12, why the result of the plasma B12 concentration is lowest comparing with the 200 ppb?
No, no, no. Oh, okay. Mhm.
I'm sorry.
Yes, yes.
Thank you for mentioning because I forgot to explain here. The paper said that when we provide 200 ppb for the cell, for this concentration of the cell is the high, maybe is the suggested one, because when we provide the 400 ppb, they will decrease the serum concentration. That means they already no need so much, so they will extract. They will, because the vitamin B also for the water soluble, so they will just defecation or the urine will just go out. So we don't need so much high dose for the animal. So the 200 ppb is the suggested one.
Thank you.
Any other? Jet.
Okay. Thank you, Susu, for your presentation. My question is on slide 7. Slide 7.
Okay.
Yeah, in this slide, if we see the requirement of vitamin E, it's decreased in late gestation, right? And is higher in early gestation and also in the lactation and weaning period. So why in late gestation there is low amount of alpha tocopherol requirements? Or what is the difference? Yeah. Can you listen my? Can you hear my sound?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, my question is why in late gestation G 110 days the plasma concentration of alpha tocopherol and retinol is decreased or
Your question is talk about at the late stage of the cell, why the concentration of the vitamin A and E will be the lowest one, right?
yes,
Compare with the early gestation and the lactation stage.
lactation and even in the weaning also require the high amount, right? So
Maybe
only
I
in the
can.
late gestation it is significantly reduced.
Okay. I don't know the right answer, but maybe that's because for the early gestation stage, they need more vitamin A or the E to help them to anti the oxidative stress. Then for the lactation and the weaning stage, they need secretion for the milk. They also need to provide the vitamin A and the E to the piglet. So both of these two stages, they need more vitamin support them to provide the nutrients for the embryos or for the piglet. That's my answer.
Jet. This is not say the requirement. This is say blood plasma concentration. Okay. So
Okay.
Susu's answer is correct. Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. So my another question is about, I think around slide 27 or 26 about the homocysteine. You explain the function of I think it's 27. Yes. Yeah, you explained the function of homocysteine, but I didn't hear well. Can you explain again this one? Yeah.
The
Ask
function
your,
is in this slide. So we can know that the homocysteine level, if too high, so they will cause the abnormal embryo development, and they will increase the prenatal mortality. And they will cause the pregnancy failure. And I put some explanation here, but it's quite long. So it's related with the cell, then they will produce the distinctive uterine environment within a typical pattern of the ketonites, and steroid hormones, growth factor, and the other metabolics. Then, sorry.
Kid, ask your roommate. Speaker not so loud.
Oh, no, I'm in the office and some undergraduate
Okay,
students
good.
are doing the research.
Yes.
I
So
think.
whose roommate speak so loud?
Oh, they are not roommate. They are student. I think undergraduate student.
Outside.
No, I'm in the office.
Okay.
I think it's Professor Lee's student.
Oh, I see. Yes.
They are doing experiment. Yeah.
Yes.
And it's a mechanism that they said if the homocysteine too high, they will decrease the embryo survival rate and will also influence on the fetal development. But the spatial mechanism, maybe I can find out it.
And my another question is on slide 31. 31.
3-1.
31, yeah. Yes.
Okay.
I think here. Yeah, in this slide, when you explain about the allantoic fluid, you said the in treatment group has higher one, but actually the treatment group has the lowest one. And can you explain the function of allantoic fluid? What is the function of this?
Here I have a sentence is talk about the NM fluid values at the day 30. They indicative of the placenta development were greater. So that means when the anatoic fluid is more, so maybe they have some good effect on the placenta. But we also can see here is no effect on the placenta weight. So for this result, I also doubt on it that the placenta weight will also, but placenta development will also influenced by the riboflavin or not. Because these two result is adverse, right? So I don't know whether the riboflavin, the B12, really can influence on the placenta development or not. Until now, I cannot find the paper to describe it.
But from your result, you can see the total embryo numbers. Riboflavin is significantly better than the control.
Yes.
And the life is also significant. So
Yes.
so the answer is riboflavin have a benefit to this.
Yes.
So it's nothing to do with alarm tonic fluid.
Maybe.
Yes. Uh, 云珍有没有问题？ Okay. Net. Professor Vantamas.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Shu Ping, for your presentation and many information. My question is go to slide 42. Yes, when we look at the effect of vitamin E in two different parity and from the following rate, why vitamin E are effect to parity to higher than parity 1 when we increase the level of vitamin E?
For this table, I won't explain by the vitamin E. I will explain by the parity, because the yield are less than the yield following rate always less than the parity 2.
No, you have to answer the parity because vitamin E increase.
Because
and
vitamin
the
E.
following rate is increase.
Yes.
So of course, it's nothing too serious with parity, but why they are increase the following rate and total piglet bone, you may answer is still is related with parity maybe, but why the increase of vitamin E can increase the total piglet bone and the following rate?
The reason for the vitamin E can improve the total bone and the firing rate, I think that's because the vitamin E, they have the function to protect the cell. So they can, and not only for the antioxidant, so they also have the function and give the nutrition to the fetals, so they can give more protection. Like that. So we can improve it.
I smile because I just worry you move too much of your finger.
No. It's okay.
Okay, thank you. Anything relate with like when the sound at first parity is not reach the maturity yet. So when we supplement vitamin E, they won't have effect compared with
Yes.
parity 2.
I remember I have a slide also said that this one. They said that when the animals goes to the maturity, so the vitamin will becomes more available for the reproductive reproductive function. I think not only B12, also for the other vitamin also.
Any question, Professor Thomas?
$32, please.
Yes. Can you please explain like mechanism that riboflavin can increase the piglet life? I have the mechanism, but it's very, I think it's more complex. That's because the B12, the physiology mechanism underlying this transfer is not well understood in pig or through the known B12 carriers, the TCN1. They has been identified in porcine endometrial tissues. Then this one will, in this process, the embryos and the endometrial cells interact to produce a distinctive uterine environment with a typical pattern of the ketokines, steroid hormones, and the growth factor and the other metabolites. So this kind of metabolites, they can increase the steroid hormones and the GH growth factors, and so they can improve the performance of the piglet. And also they have the benefit for the embryo survival rate.
Okay. Professor Wadodo, do you have any comments or suggestion or question?
Sorry, can you hear my
Yes.
voice?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you have any question, comments, or suggestion?
Well, I did not study a lot of it with pigs, but I just did a lot of with poultry. But as far as I understand, the maternal nutrition is also part of the important aspect when we doing breeding business or something like that.
Mhm.
So it could be related with some vitamin, some vitamin, and could also be related with protein, the protein requirement as well as energy requirement that should be different between what we call it as a final stock broiler or layer. It should be different from the breeding, whether it's a parent stock or grandparent stock, because with breeding business we dealing with producing fertile egg, that can be able to be hatched, to produce the old egg. But maybe the concept is but similar, something like that, when we apply for a pig or something like that. That's my comment. Sorry,
Okay.
because I also have another meeting. So
Okay.
just
Yes. It's okay.
thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. What
Thank
time
you.
is it in your place now?
No, 8:06. Yeah.
Oh, past 8.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, 6:08.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Only 1 hour's difference. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's
Yeah.
right. 1 hour different.
Yes. Any other people have question or comments or suggestion? Susu, you mentioned about this B9 folic acid can inhibition E2 and it can stimulate the E2 secretion and can depress P4. Oh, can you tell a little bit more about that?
Okay. In this experiment, they said when we provide the B9, so the uterine level of the E2 will, on the day 15, they will the concentration, the E2 concentration will lower than the control group. Then we can see, I remember the paper also said that if the B9 deficiency, they will cause the E2 secretion relative more. So they will so they have the relative on it.
Maybe it's page 39, I think.
This one is for the biotin.
Okay. No more question. Other people? Does anyone still have question or comments or suggestion? Okay, if you have no more question, we will finish today's seminar. And thanks for Sushu's well prepared. Okay, also he hurt herself, and by pretend to hurt themselves. So I hope all the students notice one thing: you have to collect more information as possible. Okay, so this is a very important. If you try to make a review paper, review the presentation, you better to have a whole picture. Okay, the whole picture usually can tell more stories than the only one or two. Then your imagination will be increased. Okay, and then in the future, even you are left the university, you still can be very easily to develop some kind of new idea to do experiment, or you can explain to the farmers or to the student. Okay, so please read more. It's very important. Okay, I always tell the student, because next week I told you before, I will give a presentation for the high school student, junior and senior high school student, and I told them, you say, please read more. If you do not read more, if you are very clever, it's okay. Sometimes it's okay, but the clever people only very few. But if you are not clever enough, and sometimes has a little bit stupid as me, as myself, you better read more. If you do not read more, you never can have a competition in the future. Okay, so the student, please remember this. Thank you. Bye-bye. Good night. Good night, Professor.
Thank you.
Both
Good
professors.
night.
Yes, good night.
Thank you.
Bye, thank
See
you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Till next week.
Thank you for your coming, Wadudu and Professor Watamas.